Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's NBA sharp betting breakdown here on the Advantage Sports Betting Podcast. I am your host, Michael Fiddle. Today is Friday, June 6th. We have 4 WNBA games to talk about and NBA Finals Game 2. Here is the schedule and breakdown for how this show is going to go. We are going to do ladies first, since these games are Friday and Saturday, working chronologically as we're going to work through what odds are most likely to move, what probably has the largest edges, and what is literally coming first. And then we are going to do a little bit of game 1 reflection, game 2 updates for the NBA Finals. The way that we're looking at the NBA Finals game 2 right now and the way that the odds came out is that it's probably more of a game that you want to attack in the prop market. The side and total are super sharp already, formed consensus, tough to bet. So we're going to look more into the prop angles because rotations are going to change, adjustments are going to be there. So we're going to talk through a little bit of those and go through some market moves in terms of props. So if you are wondering, or if you have a prop that you are looking at, drop it in the comments. We will get to it at the end. During that prop segment, we can literally look up if there's been any market moves on it so far and respond with our opinions as well. And then finally, before we get out of here, because it is a Friday, we're going to talk about the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau and what it means. Before we get started, do me a favor, drop a like, drop a subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you're watching on the Twitter, like that as well. Head over to our YouTube channel, The Advantage Sports Betting, and follow along for every single live show. Joining me today is professional poker player Drew Johnson. Good to have Drew back. Drew, last time you were on the show, I said, we are starting this thing on a 5-day win streak. It ended up pushing out to a 7-day win streak, and I'm really sad to announce we are now entering on a 3-day losing streak. So the swings of the up and down definitely bite a bit. We'll talk about that game too, but we'll start with the WNBA. Does that work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into this.
All right, I am going to share the FanDuel odds screen. Remember, why do we show the FanDuel odds screen? Because the background's blue and it matches our lovely studio. However, if there are better odds somewhere else, we will happily call them out and let you know where the best possible line is and remain very price sensitive to these sharp markets. We start out with the Atlanta Dream at the Connecticut Sun, a Dream minus 10.5, a line that has gone bing bong, bounce around, a total at 158 minus 114 towards the over. Like I said, that spread has just bounced around. We'll talk about that in a second. Total here is the one, Drew, that seems to just be taking some sharp moves towards the over here. This line opened at 157 across the board, even a few 156 and a halves. And now, 156 and a half. And now we're seeing 158 with sharp action towards the over and a little bit of Atlanta money coming in this morning. This was at 10, got brought down to Atlanta minus 8, and then got kicked back up to Atlanta Dream minus 10.5. You looking at this right now, thinking anything is playable here with the Dream as the sharp side and the over in Connecticut?
I think you could still take the Dream here. There's some sharp books at 11s already, like 11s minus 115 in some spots. So a 10.5 is still fine. I would have played this at a 10.5 if that had been the line open. I did like the Dream side all day on this one. If there's a team that can ensure a spread gets covered at home, it's Connecticut.
Let me update that for you. If there's a team that could ensure that the opponent's spread gets covered at home, it's
yeah. It's Connecticut. Sorry, I didn't quite get that one right. The total I'm confused by, and it's mostly because Connecticut just has real problems on offense this season. I know the Liberty really held them down in that one game. And the game did go over, but in large part because of the Liberty and because they stopped playing in the fourth quarter, literally stopped playing. I don't think this Connecticut team is going to be able to get enough points to get up to a 160, in my opinion. So I'm confused by why this line has gone upwards. I actually played it downwards at 157.5 at open, and really surprised to see it here. Am glad it's only 1 point off CLV for me, a point and a half. No, not even, just 1 point at most. So I could see this going back the other way. It wouldn't surprise me if this is ticked up a point or a half point just because that spread has lengthened.
Circa is leaving it at 157.5 and is yet to make a single move on the board. So there have been some other books that have kicked it up around that. Bookmaker is at 158.5. Offshores are at 158 or 158.5. Recreational books mainly at 158 as well. So like Drew said, a little bit of overaction. He personally likes the under. I would stay away from that. I played the Dream at -8.5. I want to shout out Jonah in
Yeah,
the
nice.
WHOP. I believe he commented and was like, hey, what do you think about the Dream? Because the Connecticut Sun are absolute trash. The Sun
Yes,
is
they are.
buns thing moves from the NBA to the WNBA. We could potentially talk about the Phoenix
Yep.
Suns in the coaching section or the Knicks section. Well, it's Durant at the end of the episode. But the Connecticut Sun are the new Phoenix Suns are complete buns. The Connecticut Sun are complete trash. They are buns through and through. So Dream at this number, yeah, it's still, you know, tempting. Let me find the best money line, because if there's a money line, you know, below 450-ish, DraftKings 440. That's really pricey. I think
It's
that's
still
still
really pricey.
worth a look though. I mean, it is higher at every other sharp book, which generally even hold lower vig and less handle. Well, lower hold would be the right terminology in the money line market. And so there's still more expensive places at books with that are sharper with a lower hold. So that says something that the -440 might provide a little bit of value, but hopefully Alicia Gray, Griner, Ryan Howard get it done. This should be a big Ryan Howard game if they're going to cover 10.5 and get up there. Look at her over on threes, over Ryan Howard threes, 3.5 threes is like plus 170. And so
Oh
she's just an
my.
absolute volume shooter. Drew, if we were going to do the bet stamp segment today, and we'll see if we have the time, that was one of them that I saw as a long shot prop. Very interesting. Ryan Howard, over 3.5 threes, plus 170 with the extreme dream action and the over action. That would say a nice correlated angle that is maybe still playable. All right, we move on to the Los Angeles Sparks at the Dallas Wings, a game where Kelsey Plum and the crew go to take on Arike and the Dallas Wings. Paige Buckets still listed out with her concussion. Ty Harris still out as well. Cameron Brink and Ray Burrell on the Sparks side remain out from, I mean, Ray Burrell got hurt in the season opener. Brink has remained out since that ACL injury. Drew, this one I'm like looking at and going, is this currently playable in taking the Sparks ATS? So that's what I'm going to wonder your reaction. I know that you're on the over, and that's an amazing ticket looking at these lines now at 173.5, 174.5. But let's talk about the spread first. Sparks minus 1.5. We do have two at Circa, offshores, 2.5 at one of the offshores. And so I just wonder, even with the over movement, every place that's laying the -1.5 has it at least at -115. FanDuel here at -112. Is this a call to jump in on the Sparks?
I've been kind of hesitant to do that, watching this like a hawk for the last, I don't know, before I went to bed, anyways, for the last like 2 hours. I don't like that it hasn't moved much more from the one that we saw last night. I do like a 2.5. Yes, that is enough to say there is a clear direction here. And it did open, I believe, at Dallas -1 or something of that nature in some spots. I'm hesitant to follow movement at this point, seeing as it's already gone 3 points. I don't trust the Sparks team at all right now, especially on the road. Dallas is like, they're kind of due to have a couple more good games here. I know they're missing Paige. That's a big blow, but Enrique finally put it together the last couple of games, and I think she's going to ball out again. And the Sparks may have trouble containing her, given the um, defensive perimeter that they have not being quite as good as it should be if they had all their players at this point.
I almost wonder if Paige is the best defender on Dallas already. At least perimeter defender. Like, I'm willing to give maybe, some of their interior, like, is like Nalissa Smith better defensively because she could just block a ton of shots? Sure. Ian comments in Dejanay Carrington. I think that one is a great plug, obviously, because she's so speedy and physical on the perimeter. Sure. But Paige has been so fantastic defensively that I am not surprised to see this total balloon. You played the over, right? What number did you get it at? 170.5?
170 and 0.5, and then I played it again at 171.
Well done. That's kind of the name of the game in the NBA, in the WNBA space, is hitting lines twice, right? Like seeing some movement and hitting it again to get more action down, and not, hitting into this smaller market at opens with big numbers early in the betting cycle. So nice to see Drew grab those. Drew, would you still play it at 173.5, or are you priced out here?
I think you're priced out. We already saw this just before the show started, hit 175 and even 175.5 in spots, and now has come back down. So this is an interesting spot. It's also a big total for two teams that can be both bad offensively. So we'll see how this goes. Obviously, you'd expect the pace to be up in this one, but if buckets aren't falling tonight, it's going to be tough to get over a total that high now.
Okay. I'm going to just keep my eyes on Sparks. If it does move to a consensus 2, I think I'd be willing to play Sparks at -2. Drew, I just pulled up the NBA key numbers. I mean, WNBA key numbers. I'm sorry. And you know how we say the one is the, what do we say? Like 13th most common outcome in the NBA? And
12th, I think, 13th.
16th in the WNBA. So even less
That's
common.
interesting.
And why would that be? Windy fingers, why would that be? I think the biggest reason is, like, you would expect maybe more 1-point games because there's less scoring and less time. So there happens to just be less of extremes going either direction of possible outcomes. So maybe one is more likely. However, the difference between the NBA and the WNBA, we've said a bunch of times on the show, is just the parity across the league. Like, there are some amazing teams and there are some fucking horrible teams. So for that reason, having a 1-point outcome in those games is a moot possibility. Whereas you see Pacers and OKC last night, 111 to 110. So more common in the NBA, less valuable in the WNBA. Having that information and knowing that stuff helps you understand why these lines might move and how many cents to each line move is it actually worth relative to its outcome frequency, where it is priced. So all of the outcome information for NBA, NFL sides and totals, because you can't do totals in basketball, but you can do it in football, as well as WNBA spreads. All of that information is in our WHOP in the files section if you want to look at any of the key numbers. An exciting update. Next week, there will be some information that comes in that enhances the level of key numbers in the WHOP. So excited to talk about that, being able to isolate it for certain teams, maybe for certain situations, just for certain time periods. So being able to do that should be very, very insightful, hopefully helpful in people in their capping. Let's move on to Saturday in the WNBA, Drew. Going chronological, ladies first. It is the Las Vegas Aces taking on the Golden State Valkyries in the Chase Center in Golden State. Now, we only have these few games priced a few places. The Saturday games just started showing up last night. So we will talk about these three and we will go through them. You might not, if you don't have access to, I guess Caesars and Bet365 opened them up as well. Okay, so it's a little more of a market that developed. Okay, yeah, there's some odds out there. Happy to go through this. The Aces are -10.5 at the Valkyries, a total at 159.5. Drew, you've been saying that I guess we've both been in agreement on it that the two things can be true. The Valkyries are a little bit better than we expected at their 8.5 win total and already taken a few games, and they shoot a lot of threes, so they're going to increase their variance, and they're in the chase center shooting a lot of threes, so maybe they get some Steph magic to befall on their jump shots. But and the Aces on the flip side have struggled. Like, we don't love the
Yeah.
addition of Jewel Lloyd versus Kelsey Plum, and you see how the way Kelsey Plum is fucking balling out for the Sparks. So two things can be true. Does that make you want to back Golden State Valkyries on a line that has not moved at all? Which way do you think this line goes?
I really think it has to go towards the Valkyries, like a 10.5 point spread on the road. Also an early afternoon, like mid-afternoon game. Oh no, sorry, because it's in Golden State, so it'll be an early game. So it's because it starts at 3 my time, which is
It is a
12.
12 p.m. local tip-off, noon local tip-off.
Yeah, I think this spread is probably too long already then.
Yep.
Because you look, the only thing that worries me is that because it is the 12 p.m. start, if Golden State can't hit their threes, it's going to be tough, right? Because that's literally what they rely on to get into these games. I'm not saying like that they're a good 3-point shooting team, to be honest with you, and they play hard. They're always on the defensive end. I don't know if they really have a player that matches up with Asia though. So if it does fall apart, right?
Asia's
Where
so
they can't,
good, dude.
oh, it's unbelievable.
She's
Collier
like,
is gonna. Sorry.
she's so easily the best player in the W. Like, I
I
know
think so
Caitlyn gets a
too.
lot of attention, and she's a elite, unbelievable. She's the chosen one long term. I know Nafisa is on a blossoming team right now that's 8-0 and is probably going to win the award because Asia's won the award a few times. I think she's won it 3 times now. She
Yeah,
is so fucking good. This is like Pat
yeah,
Mahomes, but Josh Allen wins the MVP. Like, Asia
yeah.
is incredible. Sorry for cutting you off, but she's insanely good.
She's easily the most consistent in the whole league by a long way, and it's like it's kind of like the Jokic stats when you look across like
Yes.
the board, and you're just like, how does he have two 60-point triple doubles this season, or 60 plus point points, rebounds, assists
Yep.
and triple doubles, right? Like it's just, and she consistently gets it done. Like when you look at her numbers, remember that they play 8 less minutes a game, right?
It's
Like
crazy.
she's out here averaging like 25 some years and 10 rebounds, and she's only playing at maximum like 34 minutes ever.
Yeah, I would say
It's
she's probably not even playing that. Yeah, she's so good. It's nice to see her start to get commercials. There's
Yeah,
definitely a
she's
huge
really doing a
marketing
lot better there.
spotlight. If you're watching the W games, you've probably seen all the little girls dancing, and they have like Asia written in their braids and on the floor.
Mhm.
It's a really cool commercial and ad. So glad to see that. And the other thing I noticed with Asia, it seems like she takes her jersey and like twists it. It's one of I've never seen any other player do that, NBA or WNBA, but she's got these massive traps and she's just brolic. And so she like essentially twists that so it becomes like a little string against her. Beast. Big fan of
Mhm.
Asia. Swag on another level. As it
Yeah, that's
relates to
true
this
too.
game, I will mention that what's her name? Tiffany Hayes is questionable. Obviously came from Vegas and was drafted in the expansion draft by the Valkyries and was taken from the Aces. So that one's kind of important for Valkyries. If they don't have Tiffany Hayes, that's a tough spot against the Aces. So based on the way that injury goes, I would say that's probably a big factor in line movement stuff, right? Like if she's out, I wouldn't be surprised to see Aces minus 11 or 11 and a half. And if she's in, I wouldn't be surprised to see this come down to, Aces plus 9 even, right? So keep eyes for that one. Check out who the Las Vegas Aces beat writer is. Go check out the article on fiddlespicks.substack.com, our Advantage Sports Gambling newsletter. We have the list of every single team's beat writer. You can literally just click the Aces writer and go check out and see what they're tweeting, set some notifications between now and this game. And if you beat that news, you are for sure going to beat the line. Next game up, Drew, Indiana Fever at Chicago Sky, 8 p.m. Eastern time tip on Saturday. It's obviously being played in Central Time, so a little bit earlier. Local tip-off. A Indiana -5, a spread at a total at 168.5. We do have confirmation that Caitlin Clark is ducking Angel Reese.
Sure.
We do have word that Caitlin Clark is out for this game, and she says she is day to day. She is progressing well. She will not be playing this game, and she will be come back soon, but has no need to rush it. I honestly understand it. Like, even if she was ready to come back, and I don't even think it's ducking. I think it's more ducking the whole national attention that it's like wrongfully generates, I would say is the term. Like, it's just ridiculous, some of the storylines that come out of Angel versus Caitlin games. Regardless, spread at -5. There's a few -4.5s out there, but hasn't really taken much movement. It's just prices opening different places. I have not seen any of the books that opened at 4.5 go to 5. I have not seen any of the books that opened at 5 go to 4.5. The move that's been there is the move towards the under in the total. 169.5 was a full unit play for me and Drew last night and sent out in the WHOP. We now see 168.5 across the board. Drew, I am totally comfortable still playing this under 168.5 for Fever and Sky. What do you think?
Yeah, so am I. I don't see how the pace stays quite as high with Caitlin Clark not being in. I realize Kelsey Mitchell is going to push the ball a lot, but gonna be tough for Chicago to sort of match that pace if she can. And I think Chicago being at home will want to just slow that down. Like, that's probably going to be the first thing that they talk about in the pregame when they're looking at film and whatnot. Because Caitlin Clark's out, you've got to make sure you stop Kelsey Mitchell on ball. And then after you've done that, you muck up the middle, which they're really good at as well, right? And I know that Indy has a lot of big players this year. I think that Chicago can match them inside for those rebounds, especially on the offensive end, just because of Angel Reese. And you're going to end up here with just a one that's probably going to end up being tough to watch. And I think that's why you kind of look for an under, right?
I would agree. I would say this one might be a little bit. I think that just the defense is going to be really intense because there's a rivalry between these two teams. And it's just tough for me. Since Caitlin's been out, the Indiana Fever are yet to break 85 points. So let's put it in context. If they're yet to break 85 points, and this game is priced at 170-ish, right? We played it at 169.5. And they are a -5 on the spread. I mean, I'm literally just doing the math to give you guys Indiana's team total. It is for sure north of 85. So you need this realistically, unless the Chicago Sky unless Angel Reese turns into efficient layup Angel Reese. Like, I just don't foresee it reasonably happening. Drew, the other fun fact for this game, these two teams played earlier this year. Obviously, we remember all the drama that came out of the Caitlin and Angel. Final score was 93-58, Indiana. Indiana would win that game by 35. Question for you: is Caitlin worth 30 points to the spread?
I mean, probably not.
Maybe.
That they really showed out, specifically her and Boston in that game.
Do you like the 4.5 or the 5 at all? Do you have any opinions either way there? We both like the under, but do you like anything spread related?
I kind of like Chicago. I just feel they're getting up for this one, regardless of whether Caitlin Clark's going to be in the building, right?
Oh, for sure. She's actually been very vocal on the sidelines, and it seems like good like teammate coach out there.
So I like that building's going to be rocking obviously. The only thing that I think we got to start talking about is the fact that when Caitlin's in the building on an away game for the Fever, I think they're going to end up with more fans in the building than typical.
Of
I
course.
think there's a lot of budding Indiana Fever fans, myself included. Although I'm really starting to like this Golden State team, just because of the fact that I'm going to be going through that next year, right when the Toronto Tempo show up.
That's so funny. We are getting Toronto. What do you think of the Toronto Tempo name?
I hate it. I hate it. There's like 17 things that we could have called them that are better. I guarantee it. Like, not a fan.
Is there there should have been, if there's a female dinosaur that was known for being like dominant as a female version, they should have gone with like, oh, the boys are the Raptors, we're the Velociraptors type of thing. You know?
Yeah, like if you had like a
Played into
different
that,
name for
the
Mhm.
Toronto T-Rexes or something. But whatever, we'll save that for another time. I do agree with you. I understand the Chicago look. It's a game that's being bet towards the under. It is a game where we are in Chicago, and it is a game where they got blown out by 35 last game, and they're going to want to show up. And they have
Yeah.
they have been playing a little bit better.
And the
Chicago Sky has
matchups are
gotten 3 recent wins.
that's true. And the matchups are entirely different without Caitlin Clark. Like
Completely.
Caitlin was the reason that game got out of hand when it did in that first go round.
Yep.
So without her leading and just slowing things down a little bit when she's on offense, controlling that pace, getting those good looks, even late in the shot clock for her teammates. I just think Chicago's gonna I might even put some on the money line here.
I think that's totally fine. Yeah. I think if you play the +5, you should. Absolutely.
I
I
think
will
so.
find the best.
I haven't played. For the record, I haven't played anything yet, but I've been looking hard at this one and seeing that it sort of stayed stagnant overnight. I'm inclined to start looking a little harder and putting my money where my mouth is here shortly.
Yeah, and the 4.5 started to show up at other books. Like I think when we were chatting last night, it was only the 5 starting to emerge.
Yeah, there was. I think I want to say there was a 5.5.
Oh, there was. It was
somewhere.
at Fanatics and it was -1. I can't bet at Fanatics and it was -120 to that side. I will quickly check at least what it is.
Yeah, so that doesn't really count because that's really a 5.
It's now
just at a
4
book that doesn't
it's
have.
now 4.5 -115 on the 4.5 side.
Yeah, so it hasn't moved, right? Like it kind
Fanatics
of has.
doing the MGM trick of just, hey, let's get you to bet at -120 here. Okay, how about anyone want to take the other side at -115? Okay, we'll just hold a big hold here, a big theoretical hold, and hope that we don't get middled.
There's always books that just will not lay a round number, right?
So
Like I know 888 is like that where I'm at. They always have a 0.5 no matter what.
in game 6 of Pacers Knicks, the line was 3.5 for Pacers at open. It was 4.5 for at close. ESPN bet during that time only moved between 3.5 and 4.5 at switching between -115s on each side. And they never once put up the 4. Not one time in the betting cycle.
They won't.
Every other book put up the 4. I was holding Indiana -3.5. And also Raheem reached out to me and he was like, I know you're on Indiana, but I'm on the Knicks. And I also know this other pretty sharp guy on the Knicks as well. And I'm like, good luck. I honestly hope you push. So, because I want to win and I don't want them to lose. So I was like, great. I hope you push. I also really hope you push so that ESPN bet just gets middled for being a fucker going only on -115s on each
Oh,
leg.
that'd be so funny.
I would have loved it. All right, let's talk about the last one, which is the Seattle Storm at the Phoenix Mercury. And then we will head over to the NBA. We will do a game 1 reaction, a little quick what we thought, a little game 2 odds preview, a little game 2 market prop review. And so if you have any props for game 2, drop them in the comments. I already see some coming in, but we will make sure that we go through them all. Seattle Storm at the Phoenix Mercury. Seattle Storm -5. We have a total at 157. The story for the Dak asks, is Caitlin Clark ruled out for sure? Yes, Dak. Caitlin Clark is ruled out for sure. She herself said she would be out. That was the quote. It was from Caitlin herself saying, I will not be playing on Saturday against the Sky. So it's directly from her. Okay. The story for the season for the Phoenix Mercury, Drew, has been injuries, but also starting off the season really well and having a lot of fourth quarter comebacks and a lot of really amazing, resilient efforts. That being said, Alyssa Thomas out, Natasha Mack out, Kalia Copper out, and Megan McConnell, we'll talk about her in a second, out for this game. When we saw Storm at Mercury in the very first opening night of tip-off, Drew, we played the Mercury. I don't know if you were on it with me, but a bunch of me and WHOP people were on the Mercury. Bet it at -2. It ended up closing because of the injuries to Mack and Copper. Just those two. Not McConnell, not Alyssa Thomas. It ended up closing at Mercury +6.5. So I bet -2 and was 8.5 points behind the line. I genuinely hope that is the worst bet that I make all WNBA season. It ended up winning.
Yeah, you would hope
It was
so.
a fucking
It did win
miserable
too.
bet.
I remember this.
Yes. Now
Actually, now I really remember it because I definitely caught the other side of that and was like, I have 8 points of CLV or like 7 points of CLV. This is amazing. And then you won it. And I was just
did
like,
not work out for you.
Damn,
Drew,
apparently.
I call that good luck by me. That was nothing besides good luck. It was a terrible bet. It was a terrible ticket. I would have played. I was still comfortable. I would have played it at 6.5 at tip on Mercury side, but I would have loved to have 8.5 points. You could risk less, right? Like if you put a unit on it, which it was, you could put that one unit on the money line, get 2.5 extra points, risk less, and reward yourself more. So even when you reflect in hindsight and you're like, oh, that minus CLV ticket ended up winning, I don't give a fuck. You could have risked less and won more. So you do need to understand value even in hindsight. Okay.
Yeah.
What I want to say was that game was Storm -6.5 at close, even in Phoenix. Now we get Alyssa Thomas out, and there's Storm -4.5s on the board. Why shouldn't I play Storm -4.5 for this game? Is really the question.
I've been thinking that, again, this is one that I was watching overnight. I saw where we were at 5-6 hours ago before I went to bed and said to myself, if this line is still here and hasn't moved at all, I'm inclined to play Seattle. And I think you're absolutely right about that. This is too many injuries to Phoenix. It just, you're talking about cluster injuries now, right?
Yes.
And that always takes a big toll. So,
okay.
I do like it. I don't.
That's like
really
borderline
have a reason to go against it.
Yeah, that's a border. There's been no movement. The same thing with Fever and Sky. There's just lines that came out at 5 and lines that came out at 4.5. And so I'm very likely to pick up one of those 4.5s. Very, very likely. I'm not going to make it a get down on it moment on the show. I'm not going to even call it a lean because fuck that. But I'm very likely to be on this Storm -4.5, which is currently available at DraftKings and Caesars. Drew, before we go over to the NBA, I do want to show you one thing that was pretty cool that happened between the WNBA and the NBA as it relates to the Phoenix Mercury as we wrap up this and we go over to the Indiana Pacers. Notice how I said Megan McConnell was on the court or on the injury report for the Phoenix Mercury. Megan McConnell is TJ McConnell's sister of the Indiana Pacers. So it was a really cool moment this week where Megan McConnell got signed because the amount of injuries that the Phoenix Mercury had. So she got signed and TJ wore the Megan McConnell jersey to game 1 of the NBA Finals, and Megan McConnell wore TJ's jersey to her first game on the Phoenix Mercury. So have the picture here of TJ walking in his Megan McConnell jersey. She did the same thing. Unfortunately, really kind of shitty news for what was a great story. Megan McConnell would hurt her knee and be helped off the court in her first game playing for the Mercury. So
Yeah.
fined because of the rash of injuries happening to the Phoenix side, and ends up getting hurt herself in the very first game. So that definitely sucks, but a really awesome story that developed between those. Okay.
Yeah, you love to see it.
Shall we head over to the NBA Boys League?
Yeah, let's do it. Holy shit. Is there anything else to say?
Not much. I have some thoughts, but I'll let you any major reactions or takeaways from game 1.
I have I think everything's been kind of said at this point. I don't know how many podcasts you've seen in your feed this morning, but I guarantee you there's probably at least 5 that I've watched 2 already, or 1.5 as I was capping last night. And I don't have much else to say other than holy shit. The Pacers are here. I'm so glad we have a series. I love Pascal Siakam. I'm kind of rooting for the Pacers. Go Pacers. Can't believe I'm saying that on a betting show, but that's pretty much where I'm at, especially considering we lost 2 bets because of it. But
And do you have Thunder
that's
futures
neither here
yourself?
nor there.
Do you have
Sorry?
Thunder futures yourself?
That's the one thing I don't have. I don't have
Okay.
any futures. I typically don't play them.
Fair enough. I have 3 units of Thunder to win the series at what is a combined, Drew, minus 104 in the odds. So I was obviously really happy about that.
So good.
It's honestly still good, right? If we look at the
Yeah.
minus 330 on the final. So I'm not overreacting. I honestly think if the Thunder lose game 2, like maybe then we'll start a reaction to it. Here are my thoughts on the reaction. I don't really have much thoughts on game 1 itself, Drew. I agree, a lot's been said, but can I react to the reactions that are happening?
Yes, absolutely. That's fun.
I have a strong disagreement with the amount of heat Mark Daigneault is getting, and specifically over the Cason Wallace decision to start. I think it is the most hindsight is 2020. Once we know that the Thunder end up losing in that game, we are going back in time and questioning the Cason Wallace to start decision. Let's actually play that out. Cason Wallace gets the start over Hartenstein. The Thunder go on a 7-0 run to open the game. They are up after the first quarter by 9. They are up at halftime by 12. They force 18 turnovers in the first half, more than the Pacers average for an entire game. And they're up 15 in the fourth quarter. The decision to start Cason Wallace is really non-existent in there. If you want to say they were getting killed on the rebounds in the second half, so they should have gone to Hartenstein a little earlier, sure. To go hindsight and to go back to the first half, if we talked at the end of the first quarter, or we talked at the end of halftime, and we said, what do you think of the decision to start Cason Wallace? Unanimously, everybody's going, genius move. Oh my God, they've known this for a week and a half. They've clearly been planning this the whole time, and yet they announce it 30 minutes before the game. They throw Indiana off. They start up 7-0. They're up 9 after the first quarter. They're up 12 at halftime. Again, force 18 turnovers and up 15 in the fourth quarter. The Pacers made, they just did the thing again where they make all the threes. Neesmith, Hezzy, step back, 3. Toppin, bank shot, 3. Miles Turner from fucking 50 feet away, moonball, 3. I mean, I'm not going like, oh, it's crazy, like lucky, what it happens. I understand that. But to go hindsight and say this is bad coaching decisions. Also, one of the shows that I listened to was the Hoop Collective, Brian Windhorse's podcast. And one of the things they said was the rebounding battle that Indiana won the rebounding battle by a lot, by 19 rebounds, 56 to 39, something crazy. They called it intuitive rebounding, where they didn't feel did you feel during the game, holy shit, the Pacers are beating the crap out of OKC on the glass? Because I personally didn't. And I was like, what they said on Hoop Collective was it just felt like the Pacers were always in the right spot at the right time. Like they got every weird deflection rebound. And therefore, the stats in hindsight, when you look back, are like, holy shit, you got crushed in the rebounds. I don't necessarily think that's an alarm bell of like, you have to play Hartenstein more because you got crushed on the rebounds. That's not how I see it.
I think specifically to that point is I definitely thought prior to game one that we were going to see a bit of a size advantage from Indiana. They have a lot of athletic wings and they have a lot of height, and that height is actually built like men. Sorry to Chet. He's not grown into his body yet. Like he's that young, so he'll get there. I'm sure he's not going to be the biggest guy in the league, but he's going to put on 25 pounds over the next year and a half. I guarantee it. So the thing that the Pacers are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to box out. And I think that this also probably had like the Pacers are going to out rebound this OKC team most of the time, just because like even if you have Hardenstein on the floor, the athleticism from Turner, from Siakam, from Toppin inside is going to be enough to get those offensive rebounds, right? Like Hardenstein, where he could help is on the offensive glass. That would work. But to my point, you're gonna end up with like one standard deviation above even the discrepancy that I would expect in this past game, if that makes sense. So like they got out rebounded by 17 or something like that.
Yeah, it was
I would
17.
expect that to probably average around 8.5 or
Yep.
something of that
I think
nature,
that's
right?
fair. Yep.
So
And I don't think OKC is going to respond and be like, we have to go back to being big again. I don't think so. I think they're comfortable playing the small game, and we'll see the way that it plays out. But Drew, I feel like if Halliburton didn't hit that shot, right? Let's just say Indiana still storms to come back and they end up losing by 1 point. Fair? Just that
yeah,
one shot doesn't
just
go in.
that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Rims out,
Theoretically
whatever.
speaking, everyone is coming to the next day, going to their post game pods saying Indiana almost got there, but since they didn't get this one, they're completely done. Series is over. They had their chance. OKC was clearly so much better. Blah 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 blah. We just use these small moments to just draw such big conclusions. So I would emphasize
That's a
just
really
relaxing a little bit, like no overreactions, and just let's see it all play out. Like
this is
it's
another variance game. And one of these things, like variance comes in variance, if that makes sense, right? Like
Indiana
every once
invites
in a while,
variance with playing so fast and
absolutely,
shooting so many threes.
absolutely. But like every once in a while, you're gonna get dealt aces 5 hands in a row. Like it happens, right?
See,
And so Indiana has now done this 4 times in the playoffs and 7 times this season, or whatever it is. At some point, like people will say it's not luck. This is just what this team does, and it's like no, some of it is luck. Like that's just the name of the game. That's how it goes.
it's obviously luck. Now, it's two sides of a coin. We said it earlier for W. Two things can be true.
Yes.
The Indiana Pacers could be specifically a team that invites variance because how fast they play and how many threes they take, which leads to variance in the rebounding numbers too. Indiana is also probably a team that is best suited for making these ridiculous comebacks because they play this way, that you have to assume that your opponent is probably pretty fucking gassed out by between minutes 46
Yeah.
to 48. So I get that. But if we look at like ESPN win probability, okay, I understand that thing, the model's broken, but it said that the Thunder had I think a 98.3% chance to win in the fourth quarter. So Indiana recovered and had a 1.7% chance to win game. If we want to go the distance to say no, they shoot more threes these days, those numbers are broken, it's more likely than that, fine. I will give you it's twice as likely. They pulled off a 3.5% outcome. They pulled off a 4
Sure.
or
Yeah.
5% outcome. This was not, it's still lucky. Like, I'm still willing to say all those things can be true. It's still, but they have still, Drew, they've still, what you said, got pocket aces 5 hands in a row. What I think is they've been at the roulette wheel for 16 times and they've hit double zeros, 4 of them.
Yeah.
And they're like, double zero has value, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, double zero does not have value. And they're like,
That's true. That's a
double
good
zero,
way.
it's happened 4
Yeah.
times. So that's kind of the way that I look at it. And so we'll see what ends up happening the rest of the series. I'll go on a limb here and say I wouldn't be too shocked to see OKC take the next 4.
I also wouldn't be shocked. I do think that because of the athleticism and the size of the wing and the little bit more experience that the Pacers have in these tight games, like OKC has shown us that when do you know who they reminded me of? They reminded me of the 2017, 2018 Raptors. Yeah. Look at me. What is it? Minute 50 of the pod. I got to shout out the Raptors. They haven't played in
Hat
3
are you
months.
wearing?
Yeah,
Your
that's right.
little Raptors hat?
Yeah, exactly.
The Siakam love?
They just really go to ISO ball in these late game possessions. And like, yes, you have probably the best ISO scorer in the league. Certainly the best guard ISO scorer in the league.
He's the best. He's probably the best in the league, and maybe the best maybe I've ever seen since prime James Harden. Halliburton is the best at when he gets the big switched onto him at beating the big. Like his ability to get, because he's so long, and they also talked on Hoop Collective last week that Halliburton's legs are big, right? So he has more he's got a shorter torso, and he kind of looks him and Cat kind of look awkward because they have such long legs, but he's 6'4", shifty with these long legs, so he has so much room to take a step back and get that shot off before a defender who might be 7 feet but a little bit slower. So if that step back was 6 inches shorter, then the opponent can close out 6 inches closer even in the same time span. So Hallie can get that shot off, and then he gets the defenders on his toes. He's also so good at going by them and going with that floater. So I literally think Hallie's probably the best in the league at scoring when he gets the big switched onto him in that ISO spot. So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, he definitely did that 3 or 4 times last night where it was just like, oh, I've got this guy. And the great thing is he doesn't hesitate. The second he sees somebody who's taller and bigger than him, it's 2 dribbles and he's gone. I think the league is starting to take his underrated or overrated title off at this point. I think he's definitely showing that he's not. If anything, he's slightly underrated lately, even with the way he's been just filling up the stat sheet the last week and a half or so on the rebounds as well. Like he just helps teams win.
I think that Hallie overrated, underrated comes down to I feel he's properly rated at this point. It really comes down to how do you feel about my opinion is Miles Turner, Siakam, Nembhard, Nesmith, TJ McConnell, Opie, those guys are all wildly underrated. Like, we all think of those guys as just just good. They are all elite role players, all of them. And Siakam's an all-star. He's a borderline all-NBA player. And if you ask them, who from
borderline?
Your team,
He's made all NBA. Yeah, but it's only because his stats are down because the team he plays on.
Agreed. So that's the reason why I said perennial borderline, perennial in the conversation for all NBA. Yeah. If you just check the numbers, I mean, who was the all-star from this team this year?
Siakam.
They had one. It was Pascal Siakam. Who won Eastern Conference Finals MVP? It was Siakam. Who kept them in game 2? Despite Hallie hitting the final shot, Siakam was the MVP of game 1. I mean, he scored the most for the Pacers, and he was insanely clutch. So I think I think Siakam is the one that's most underrated personally. Shout out the Raptors.
the only reason that the Indiana Pacers were able to take that game 2 in New York is because Siakam kept them within 14-ish points when none of them could hit a shot. And they were just passing it down to Siakam in the post. And he made, I don't know, I want to say like 5 of 8 shots in the first half. He was the only one in double digits on that team at the time. And they won that game. Imagine if that Halliburton, the luckiest 2-pointer shot in the history of the playoffs. Like, even Kawhi's shot wasn't that lucky, in my opinion. Like, he had spin on the ball. It hit the front rim. We have seen that shot go in from Kawhi since then a number of times, right? Like, once a week, he hits the front of the rim with a hard spinning shot. If they don't hit that shot, they lose game 1. If Siakam doesn't keep them within striking distance in game 2, they're down 2-0 to the Knicks. And we're talking about the Knicks going to the finals and likely getting absolutely wrecked. But also, the Thunder didn't look ready last night when it came down to the last, when things got tight, right? Like, it was a big spot. This is a younger team.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
the Thunder role players wish
Yep.
they could be the Pacers role players and will likely turn into what the Pacers role players are currently. But
Right.
they're not quite there yet.
I think they weren't yesterday. I think I'd rather have the Thunder role players over the or at least the top. Yeah, I would still be heavily on the Thunder. I think that was an anomalous outcome.
What if, like, the problem is you can't do it as like a straight up swap. And we're talking about the MVP. Never mind. I won't say that. That'll come back to haunt me. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Let's talk about game 2 specifically, what we've seen, and then we will do a props and we will go through the comments as well. Then we'll finish off by talking Thibs, and then we'll get out of here. Nice little Friday show. That's been a fun one. All right. The Indiana Pacers for game 2 are plus 11 across the board. That has been the opening odds. There has been very little movement between some 11s, some 11.5s, and a steep price with a heavy zigzag factor of the NBA playoffs priced in. So what we are seeing is they think, like us, anomaly, OKC comes out strong. They're going to not let their foot off the gas. They're not going to have some bad variance against them. They're going to complete the knockout punch that they do against so many other teams. And so they're really shading all of the action towards wanting Indiana money to come in. Circa opened at 11.5, was brought to 10.5 because clearly some Indiana reactionary money was going to come in after that game. It got resisted and it is back to 11.5. So we are going to see this game close at an expensive 11 or 11.5. And I'm just pretty convinced that we're not going to see too much movement off this. And if it does, it's going to get resisted by the market. And then total, Drew, I'd like to shout out you and give you a thank you. It moved from 225.5 open at DraftKings. You sent me a message at 226.5. It was like, yo, grab the over. I did. So thank you. The reason why we're on the over at 226.5 is because of you. And now we have it at 227.5, 228 across the board. So it is very slim pickings. I don't think we're going far from any of these numbers. You can throw in your opinion on that. But that's why I still think maybe the over is a play. I personally would still play over 227.5 at DraftKings. But I wouldn't. That's really all. I'm going half unit on that over 227.5. Would probably be my only recommendation on a game 2 spreader total line now. What do you think, Drew?
So what I think is I'm betting Thunder minus 10.5 at BetMGM right now. Minus 110.
Yeah, that's probably worth it.
I'm only doing it for a half unit, but I'm literally doing it as we speak.
We're gonna see all these 10.5s get resisted. There is a few of them. But yeah, 11.
I just like the minus 110
bookmaker.
everywhere else is.
And there's no 10.5 that's minus 110 besides DraftKings. Yeah, I mean besides MGM. So if you agree with Drew, then I would be looking.
I think the Thunder blow them out. I think they finish what they started. We have a very similar thing where they're not like the Pacers have been in a bunch of these games. They're not going to be tight in this kind of spot. The Thunder have been in one this entire playoff run. I really think that we're going to see the Thunder absolutely manhandle the Pacers in game 2. And everybody will start talking about how the Thunder are way better than them, and this is the series we expected. Indiana got really lucky in that first game. The narrative is about to completely switch, in my opinion. So 10.5 it is, half a unit for myself.
We'll go to some of the questions and some of the props on this game. We'll start with props that we get from questions. Then we will hit props that we like on our own. Kaya, thank you for being here. Says this created a great buy opportunity for the Thunder, I assume. Yes and no. I would say no in terms of game 2 because it moved from betting 9 in game 1 to betting 11 in game 2. And so you got a 2-point premium priced onto the Thunder because they lost. The place where I would say maybe you do get a discount in the Thunder, Drew, is them going from minus 700, minus 750s in the market to minus 330 on the series. You said you had no Thunder futures. Is now your time?
No.
And if you think there's going to be a blowout, are you putting 1 unit on a minus 330 Thunder future?
Not yet, but do you know what I really want to know about?
Yeah.
What's Thunder in 5?
Yeah, I agree. Okay. We will look at that after. I had that exact same thought last night. I'm
right.
Happy
I'm like, what's Thunder in 5 right now? Yeah.
Drew, can you pull up BetStamp?
Yeah.
And as we go through these props, do you mind just
updating,
calling out what prices have changed?
Sure.
And we will go through it and see it as it happens. All right. So the first one is Aaron Nesmith on his rebounds from Riley, he asks. So let's check what the number on Nesmith rebounds is, what the VIG is, if you have it.
We've got a current best price, minus 130 over 4.5 at BetMGM. FanDuel has popped this up to 5.5 already, but it's
and has FanDuel moved it from 4.5 to 5.5?
Yes, but it was even longer odds at the 4.5, and the 5.5 is currently plus 128. So that's what, a 41% implied odds, less, probably a little less.
Yeah. What's the 4.5 at MGM? You said minus 130.
Minus 130.
And then the plus 5, the 5.5 is plus 128.
Yeah.
Okay, so a few cents. It's honestly just cents of difference. That's pretty much the same line.
Yeah.
MGM is the slightly better line there. I'm fine with it, Riley, if you like that angle. I personally don't think that the Thunder are going to rush to play a lot more bigs. I think that's going to be a public sentiment overreaction. So I think a lot of public sentiment overreaction might grab like a Hartenstein over on rebounds, and I just don't think that's how it plays out. I mean, I'm fine with Hartenstein getting 8 or 9 rebounds, 10 rebounds in his 23 minutes. I just don't think Hartenstein's suddenly playing 28 minutes again, and I'm not sure he's starting. So if you want to do look Nesmith on the rebounds, assuming that this series stays small, which the over trends would suggest, like this. There was a pop towards the over, Drew, when we got the starting lineups last night, and we saw Case and Wallace was starting over Hartenstein.
Yeah.
The way that the pace is going to increase and the way that the Thunder are going to be able to space out, and then it was an over spot. So Nesmith rebounds. And when people comment Nesmith rebounds ? And this is not anti-Riley. Appreciate the question. Appreciate you being here. Happy to answer it. Me and you immediately just assume Riley's asking about the over on rebounds.
Yes, of course. Of course he is. That's funny.
Do I just want the over? Okay. We have from Peasy.
So
what up,
just
Peasy?
just quick on Nesmith still. You can get over 16.5 points and rebounds at DraftKings right now, minus 115. FanDuel has that at 17.5, minus 102. So I find that
that would
interesting. If
be
you're looking
that
for
becomes the best
value
line. Yeah.
and less vig, that's not a bad look there.
Nice. Thank you. I love pointing that out. Feel free to point that out for any of these that we
Will
go
do.
through. If there's a adjacent prop line that you feel is better value, happily throw that out. Peasy, what up, my guy? Says Lou Dort over 2.5 threes for the Dortcher Chamber. Drew, pull that one up. Look at those odds as well. I will say that I played a Lou Dort prop that was very correlated to this last night. I played his over 14.5 points, rebounds, and assists at DraftKings minus 125. So when Drew's ready, we will see what the Lou Dort is, but I do think that this is set up for another. Like, I don't think Dort's minutes are getting reduced despite all of the lineup questions that are happening for the Thunder. Don't think Lou's going anywhere. What's happened in these odds, Drew?
No. They've climbed. So FanDuel opened this at 1.5, over 1.5, minus 180 though. We're now at 2.5 plus 124, which is actually the best line currently at FanDuel. I want to hesitate on this one. Dort is streaky. He hit a couple of big shots here. Because this is a Sunday game, I could see it being a little bit different, a little bit harder for him to get into the rhythm. And they're definitely going to want him to put way more focus on the defensive end. I think that one of the things that they're going to do is double down on how much on-ball pressure that they have. So I don't know if his legs will be quite there and if he's going to be quite as hyped as he was last night. Obviously, his shot was absolute butter last night. Did very well. And I think I was on his over threes in game one. I'll have to look back through my notes. But I'm hesitant to play it into game two. That's just my opinion. There is definitely some sentiment about like you're going to be chasing a lot of movement already because this has gone from plus 2.5, plus 160 to now plus 124. So a little bit hesitant. There's probably still a bit of value on the over though.
Peasy says first half under 112.5 with the check mark. Now, I'm not sure if this is hey, I played this in game one and won it, and that's why I'm putting a check mark there. That's kind of the sense that I was getting from the way that this was worded. However, I just want to point out that Drew and I spoke about the first half over for game two because we like the over for the game and the fact that we like the over 227.5 for still a half unit. And we played it at over 226.5. That first half over under is at 111.5. So you are getting a discounted first half line from what we normally see, where the first half expects a little bit of higher scoring. I guess the books have finally come around to just assuming that the Pacers are going to hit 12 threes in the fourth quarter. So in terms, if that is a game two look, Peasy, I would stay away from a first half under in game two. The other one that I wanted to talk about was Obi Toppin, Drew. If you could go to Obi Toppin rebounds, that would be great.
Sure.
I played the under 4.5, and the vig I paid was minus 130 for a quarter unit. And so looking towards those Obi rebounds, he did have over this in game one, which is why I think it's a nice reactionary fade. He stayed on the court for extra minutes because of how hot he was in the second half. And so he plays mainly from the 3-point line. I expect the Thunder's tenacity on the glass to be a little higher. And I think some of those rebounds were probably just some variance rebounds grabs that Obi got where the ball happened to bounce his way. So I think it is a pretty strong under spot. Book is shading it that way for Obi Toppin under 4.5 rebounds at minus 130. Personally liked it quite a bit, Drew. What is the Obi odds and how do you feel about it?
There's no 4.5s left, so you were well done. 3.5 best is plus 115
to the under. The best under 3.5 is plus 115. Oh, I dominated that line then.
Yeah, you destroyed this. Like considering
shit,
how low the number is, you just gained like 25% on that ticket, basically, right? Because it's only like yeah, that's cash money. Let's see. Let's see if we can find something else.
You know what they call Obi in game 2? Nobi. No boards.
You could consider. So it looks like what has happened is his points total has come up, his rebounds total has gone down. And I actually agree with that movement on both sides. I think you're absolutely right when you talk about him playing from the 3-point line. He's not out there to bang bodies inside for offensive rebounds.
No.
He just isn't.
Sprint in transition, stand in the corner
Yeah.
and threes. And if you don't get the hit ahead in transition, go under the basket, filter to the weak side corner, and we'll see you later.
Yeah.
That's kind of
Well,
the
also,
Obi role.
the other thing is, if I'm right and this is going to be a blowout for OKC and they're up 30 points, like the Pacers are going to be like, that's fine. We got game 1.
Right.
Everybody take the last half of the third quarter and the fourth off.
Yep.
And you might end up with being way under on a lot of their starters stuff.
I agree. The only thing
so-
that concerns me with that, Drew, is I just think the Pacers have been invigorated to think that they can come back from anything.
That's true. But like,
So, like,
30,
honestly, like,
we're going to do 30.
You literally need it to be 30. Like, down 22 in the fourth quarter, Pacers like are opening the quarter being like, we're playing our guys. We might come back. And so they might get a few less minutes. But yeah, I do think there's a potential some blowout factor for game 2.
I might look for some alternate spreads just because of where we are in the season. And sometimes, like, I find that when things get that sharp, when it comes to like OKC minus 10.5 and stuff like that, I think you can play into OKC blowout here. I truly do. Like they're not going to let that game happen twice. It's just, and they didn't play well. Like SGA, first of all, there's another angle you might want to look at. What are SGA's assists? Because I think he's going to get, like, they got to start involving guys a little more. Obviously, that they were tight that game, and he probably needed to take 38 shots, a la Kawhi, Raptors. There I go again.
Shea's assist
is probably going to get it. 6.5. That's high for him.
Yeah, it is high. It's minus 115 each way. It is high, but I do think you're right. Like, he probably gets there. He probably plays a lot of minutes. And that one actually comes down to if they do go with Hartenstein, Drew, I would look at Shea assists over quickly because he does often find Hartenstein on that lob roll. So you're looking towards more of the threes department otherwise.
I think in the case of a blowout, you would expect Shea to get more assists, right? Because in a blowout, they'd be hitting their threes. And I think Indiana might even hedge towards Shea in throwing double teams and that at him maybe early in this game. And that could lead to a couple of big splashdowns that could put the Pacers in an awkward spot after the third, say midway through the second quarter. What was the other one I was looking at? Oh, we liked Siakam over on the points, rebounds, assists.
Yeah, that one is. I liked him on over on points as well. It was 17.5 last night. That one has popped up to like 18.5 with heavy juice, 19.5. I was kind of kicking myself that I didn't play that one yesterday.
Yeah.
Feels a bit priced out.
We're up at 28.5 minus 106.
I think it was 26.5 last night.
I have a 27.5 is where I played it.
For what? Is this points and rebounds?
No, that's points, rebounds, assists.
Oh, well,
so that's probably where we're on.
Yeah, that's
like 28.5. I truly feel even if Indiana can't keep pace, the guy who's always reliable when you're late in the shot clock and need a bucket from somewhere in the mid range, Siakam's your go-to guy, and he typically, even in games that they lose, is going to show out that he has the stats to kind of keep them going. Like I said about that New York game 2 thing.
Yeah, and he has a matchup advantage here. Like as long as the Thunder do stay small, Siakam is the one with the matchup advantage. He's going to be the one that has to score for Indiana to keep pace. So I would look
Even
towards
if yeah,
Chet
because
over.
there's no good player to put on him other
No,
than you can't really put Dort on him because you really want Dort on Hallie,
right.
right? You
They're putting
can't really
Jalen
put
Williams on him.
that he's not big enough though, and
Right,
he's not a good enough defender. Like
right.
they'd have better luck if Chet was on him, but even Chet is going to be too inexperienced for Siakam in the post. He just
Yep,
is. Like that's a good way to get Chet 3 fouls real quick.
yep.
So you're probably looking at a Caruso. Pascal
Oh,
Siakam loves shooting mid-range jumpers over smaller guys.
I wonder if
That's
there's
like
a.
that's his go-to thing.
I wonder if I'm not sure the market's up and we don't have to talk about it. We'll move on. But I wonder if there's a field goal attempts line for Siakam because
Oh, I'd love that.
that would be the way to look. Is it like
Yeah.
he's just going to get the attempts, and if there's less
14 and a
turnovers,
half. Give me that. Yeah.
here's my pitch for the over. Besides the market movement too, and game over, not Siakam specifically.
Oh,
I
you know
think
what
there's going
is?
to be less turnovers. I just think by nature there's going to be a little less shock of the beast for Indiana at the start of the game. And I think there's going to be more free throws on OKC side. Like SGA barely got to the free throw line. And so
Yeah.
I think they're going to get more of a whistle. And I think that Indiana's going to turn the ball over less. So we got to the total to 221 in the total in game one. I definitely think if these lineups stay small, if they limit turnovers and they get to the line and they keep playing with this space, I think this is definitely an over spot. And then you're looking at all those correlated props right now on what is a good line. Anything else to say for game two, Drew, before we head to Thibs discussion?
I don't think so. Do like a TJ McConnell steal. Do like a TJ McConnell under rebounds assists at 6.5. I don't know what these are currently. I'm just going through what I have on my card. Do like Chet overs. I think he's going to play more minutes. So I have an over on his points rebounds in my card. Everything else looks like we've touched on, other than Hallie under assists. Kind of looking there, as you talked about in the last episode. He's going to be asked to score more.
Yep.
And they're going to play him straight up more often than not, which means he's not going to find those easy pick and roll stuff. And the Thunder have really good pick and roll defenders, so tough for him to get there. I did play an under 8.5.
Yeah, they're very willing to just let Dort be on Halliburton and say, beat us without the help defense coming over and getting us caught in rotations. Beat Dort and score 50 against him. Go for it. Or bang 7 threes at the end of the game. All right, let's go on to the NBA coaching carousel as we see the Suns hire Jordan Knott. But what I really want to talk about, Drew, is the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau. And I had some thoughts about this. My family group chat, because I'm a New Yorker, was popping off. And here I'll give you my thoughts and how my group chat went and how the conversation with my dad went. And then I will get your opinion because I actually think you're in a pretty unique position to weigh in on this wearing that Raptors hat. Okay.
Do you think I can mention them 3 times in one podcast? Is that allowed when they're
This is
not in the
what I was going to say,
playoffs
Drew.
and
Drew,
have
Drew,
no
Drew.
picks? And
Drew, if Obi Toppin was in the finals instead of Siakam right now, the Raptors to be mentioned 3 times was still minus 500. We were getting them
you're
in here
probably right.
regardless if it was Siakam
Yeah.
or OG. Okay, let's talk about the Knicks firing tips. So my dad calls me and he's quite upset about the Knicks firing Tom Thibodeau. Now, my dad's been a New Yorker. I mean, I've been a New Yorker my whole life. So he's been a Knicks fan since Ewing. He used to take me to the games with John Starks and Allen Houston. I was in the building for some of the Melo Amari games and all those things. I love going to MSG. I'm no longer a Knicks fan. I kind of grew up more of a Nets fan, to be honest. Just a little young contrarian Mike. And then, but all my family's Knicks fans, and they all love Thibs, and they've all rode with this team heavily. Now, I want to throw in a little factor that I know you and Ian know, but I have not mentioned on the podcast or on the show. I recently became an uncle because my older brother had his first child, or my brother's wife had his first child. So I'm now Uncle Mike, and I have a niece. And so when the reason why I mentioned that, Drew, is because when me and my dad were chatting about the Tom Thibodeau situation, here's how the conversation went. And one more note of detail for the through line. The like babysitter kind of person that's going to help my brother and his wife with the baby, because they both work and my parents both work. So the person that helped me and my brother, they hired the same person who helped me and my brother as babies and has been in my family just as like a second mom, best friend for so many years, right? And like I'm close with her kids now and all these things. She was hired to take care of my niece, right? So I asked my dad, I go, are you hiring her to take care of the niece, without using a lot of names because these people are infants? I hadn't gotten their permission on a waiver. Are you hiring her because of how well she did with me and Evan, or how well you think she's going to do with the new baby? And my dad said, because she's going to do well with the new baby. And I said, that is why the Knicks got rid of Thibodeau. It is not because he hasn't done great. He has. It is because at this point in time, he is not the right person moving forward. You could make the argument that this was the right, infant nanny for you and Evan because you guys were babies. You guys were little boys. This is a different situation because it's a girl. And so, yes, the Knicks have been brought out of mediocrity. Yes, the Knicks have been stabilized as an organization. Yes, the Knicks actually did well with creating a defense around a perimeter weakness and an interior weakness. All of those things are true. At the same time, Drew, I think the decision to fire Tom Thibodeau is not that surprising. Whether it's good or bad or whatever, we will find out. It's not surprising to me because this team needs more offensive innovation. They need more creativity. They need a guy who's going to play young guys during the regular season and test some shit out. Like you hear Dagnall's like randomly switching around rotations and just trying shit out because he wants options when he reaches the playoffs. He doesn't want to have to go back to stagnation. And the Knicks and Thibodeau teams have hit this point where they hit stagnation late and they need to be more creative. They need to develop. They need to get to this spot again. Hey, we need to get to the postseason next time, trusting one or two more guys and making sure everyone's healthy. So Bridges playing 40 minutes a night. OG, Brunson, like having fucking 5 of your starting 5 be top 20 in the NBA in minutes played is not a recipe to getting back to that spot. So all things encompassed, Thibodeau was fantastic for the Knicks, Drew. I also understand, not going to go agree or disagree. I definitely understand the decision to move on from him. And now I think I brought this up with you the other day because I was like, Drew's actually in a unique position because there's been a few other times in basketball, recent basketball history, where this has happened, where a coach who was doing great was still replaced, because it's not a factor of did he do great or not. It's the factor of, is he the right coach? Let's look at Denver this season with Michael Malone. You bring in David Adelman. Let's look at the Golden State Warriors when they moved on from Mark Jackson and they brought in Steve Kerr. Let's look at the Cleveland Cavaliers where they got rid of JB Bickerstaff and they brought in Kenny Atkinson. Let's look at the Raptors, Drew, where they got rid of Dwayne Casey and they brought in Nick Nurse and they won a title in the first year. So I was just like, I'll let you go. I'll let you spew the same way I did. What were your reactions when you heard the tip news? How did you reflect as someone that moved on from a coach with stability and ended up winning? Like, what were your big takeaways from how you think the Knicks handled the coaching decision?
Funny that I actually disagreed with the firing. And it's funny that I also disagreed with the Mark Jackson firing when those things both, now that they both have, and obviously almost 11 years apart, 10 years apart, we're talking here. It's crazy to think that Warriors team was a decade ago with Mark Jackson when they started figuring out the Splash Brothers. A decade. Time absolutely flies. I felt in both cases that the coach deserved a shot with the team. Like, I think that if you had sat down Tom Thibodeau and were like, look, minutes restriction from the head office, like, or from the president desk of the New York Knicks, right? Like, you are not allowed to play. I don't care what seed we get. And that's the other thing. Like, Thibs was kind of playing into the fact that this team needed to make the playoffs. They had a bunch of injuries throughout the season where they had to, lean on guys a little harder. OG was out for some time. Bridges was out for some time. Brunson was out for some time. Cat was out. Like, it was just went down the boards. Robinson missed half the season. Like, they're going to end up with a lot of big minutes. And the other thing is, they needed this playoff success really badly in New York. And now that they've had it, like, they're immediately just going to toss Thibs aside. I think that's a mistake in this specific spot. I liked what I saw from Thibs throughout the playoffs, barring one weird timeout sort of fiasco in the Detroit series, I believe it was. His adjustments were good. And his team ran out of gas, and they should run out of gas. They have 5 guys signed for what, 85-90% of their cap. Like, you're gonna run out of bodies, especially if those bodies take injuries. I don't think this was on Thibs this year. I understand the narrative around him is that he overplays his starters. I don't think he did that on purpose this year. I think the Knicks bench was that bad. Look at what Deuce did in all through the playoffs. Next to nothing.
Yeah. Well, he was good. He was good. He was terrible for the first round and a half, and then he came to. There was one game that keeps getting pointed to for Thibs playing Mikal Bridges too much. There was a time where Mikal Bridges came out during the regular season and was like, "Yeah, I don't think we need to be playing that many minutes." Drew, they beat the Charlotte Hornets by 20, right?
Yeah.
Mikal Bridges played the first 46 minutes and 30 seconds of the 48-minute game. They took him out with a minute 30 left. First, take him out of the game. Isn't that insane?
I feel like that's an assistant's job, though. I feel like Thibs isn't thinking that Bridges has been out there. Like, somebody has to whisper in his ear and be like, because Thibs is a strategician. Is that
Tactician?
Strategist? Tactician. Yes, there we go. I tried to put the two words together.
Strategician.
Strategician. Let's go.
Who do you think you are, Mike Fiddle, with these made up words and mispronunciations?
Yeah, I'm doing my best impression. I felt like as he's making those adjustments and whatnot, he's probably not paying attention. Like maybe he just needs a guy behind him being like, Bridges has been out there for 40 minutes. You might want to give him a rest. Like, it could be that simple. Yep. So I thought he deserved another run. I understand that some of the locker room stuff has happened, and that now they tell us, as everybody's been saying for the last 48, well, I guess a little longer than that now that we're through game 1 of the finals, but for the last 6 days or so, with all the Knicks news and whatnot. Secondly, it looks like I'm pretty sure, given the noise surrounding it, Durant is a Knick very shortly. Like, somehow that is going to get done.
Discuss. If you're the Knicks, you would be willing to trade Towns for Durant straight up?
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah. Get that done. Get him off my books, please, God. I don't want to pay that man $61 million 4 years from now. But the problem is Matt Ishbia isn't going to want to pay him that either. So they're going to have to find a way. Like, I think they need a third team to really, like, I know the salaries and stuff will match, and like you can actually get this done from a cap standpoint. But I think Phoenix is going to have to be a little more incentivized. Other than Durant's old. Is he expiring, or does he have 2 years on his deal? He's 2 years, right?
I think he has a opt out and extend possibility this summer. So he has 1 year on his deal, but anyone that trades for him this summer probably extends him 2 years right now. And so it becomes
and if it's the Knicks, they probably do 3.
Right. So Yeah, yeah. So he probably, I mean, they would have to align it with, because they have like this weird, the Knicks have this weird cap thing where they like signed Brunson to less so that they could properly time Mikal Bridges' extension even once they got Karl Anthony Towns. So they would have to finagle it, but I'm sure, capologist wise, they definitely could.
Yeah, and the other thing is Durant's made his money at this point, and he really wants more titles. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's what he's in for at
I
this
just think
point.
he's done with the shit that's going on in Phoenix. And
Well, I think he's been
Booker seems like he's willing to stick it out. They seem like they cannot get rid of Bradley Beal.
why I here's the thing. Why is it that everybody always blames Durant for all of these situations? I don't think he's ever done anything wrong other than like you can talk me into maybe like, hey, read the room and don't go to Golden State.
Um,
But
that one, and then I would say the other one was, and again, how much is this
the
Durant? I don't
burner.
fucking know, and I don't think it matters. But like when he went with Kyrie to Brooklyn,
Yeah, but I think that was a good thing.
oh, it was genius. But here's
Yeah,
the only downside to it was they also brought in DeAndre Jordan with them,
that's right. That's
and that
right.
caused the Nets to get rid of Jared Allen
Yeah,
and send
I
him
remember.
in the Karis LeVert Harden trade, and they got rid of Jared Allen. And they could have totally had Harden, Kyrie, Durant, Jared Allen as the group,
I
but they
think I
switched to
remember.
DeAndre. DeAndre was trash, and then it didn't work out. But also that Brooklyn situation, they would have won a title if Kyrie played in the playoffs or if Harden wasn't playing on half a hamstring. Like that was the season where they went and Durant had this foot on the line, and then
Yeah,
Milwaukee
that's
wins in
right.
overtime. And if Durant's foot was this much behind the line, then they go on in
They
that
win.
series.
Yeah,
They go play Atlanta in the conference
yeah.
finals, and then Phoenix
Who they
in the
wreck.
finals.
Yeah,
They win.
like it could happen. Yeah, barring injuries and whatnot. But yes,
Right.
um, and you're absolutely right. I remember talking about the Jared Allen thing at the time and being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's the guy you want. That's the guy you want down the middle. DeAndre Jordan had been washed for like 18 months before that. He was never a good scorer. He was obviously great on the defensive end until he got old and got injured.
Yep.
It was that simple. But I think the one thing I will say for Kevin is that he always seems to learn from his mistakes very quickly. And it's just that that one is glaring. Um, and I don't think that he had full say in that either, depending on Kyrie and how he had booked things and whatnot, right? Because I truly think that Kyrie was kind of the leader of that squad.
Oh, he was. It was like that's what we know about Kevin. He's not the clubhouse leader, but definitely the playing leader, but also
Yeah, that
plays like a
Brooklyn.
best player, but second fiddle as he plays. Ian says, by the way, the entire coaching staff on that Brooklyn squad with KD and Kyrie are all head coaches now, which I definitely know. Ime Udoka was on that coaching
Yeah,
staff. Obviously, Kenny Atkinson was on
yeah,
that coaching staff. I asked Ian to comment if there were any other ones. Uh, I'm not too concerned with who the Knicks hire. We could discuss that when it comes.
yeah. I
Um,
just don't know who's available, right?
yeah,
Who
we're we're
really
being
moves
heard
the needle?
assistants. They're going. I think they're going to go with the creative assistant, if unless they poach someone
Yeah,
from another team. But I
very
do think
very
they go
much the Nick Nurse thing that we did with Dwayne
exactly.
Casey, right?
Yeah, we're hearing Johnny Bryant is the main name that's come out. And if you do hear what went on a little bit in the background of the Knicks stuff with Leon Rose and
Yeah,
Worldwide West and Thibodeau not all being on the same page, but Leon Rose and Worldwide West are definitely on the same page. I would probably say they hire a guy who they know kind of can be on their same side and get input from them, because it obviously seems like there was some little lack of input from the front office to the coaching staff by the end. All right, that's going to do
mm,
it for today's show. Let me share the WHOP bets. There are 5 of them. It is Dream -8.5. That line is at a beautiful -10 or 10.5 now. Could still play it. Maybe we like that money line. That was still at a good price. Also, during this, I added the LA Sparks -1.5. As Drew was talking about the Knicks, I saw all those lines go to 2 and 2.5. So I added LA
Yeah.
Sparks and sent that out in the WHOP as we were doing the show. There are still a few Sparks -1.5s out there. Feel fine grabbing that. The Fever at the Sky under 169.5. That is available 168.5 across the board and still playable. Maybe you play it slightly less because you have some reduced value now that the line moved, but still a strong spot on an early tip-off game without Caitlin Clark. And then on game 2, we have the Pacers Thunder over 226.5. Felt 227.5 was still playable. Lou Dort's over and Obi Toppin's under. Looks like we have some good line movement on those and the host of props that we went over. Hopefully this show was helpful for you guys. Nice to see all 5 of these plus the one that I added are going to seemingly close ahead of the closing line despite being on a 3-day losing streak. Drew, process is still very good and still closing ahead of pretty much all of these lines. So Ian comments Jacques Vaughn was the other one. He's not currently head coach, but he certainly was head coach many places. All right. Thank you. That is it.
Thanks for having me.
BetStamp for being the odd screen that we used. Didn't do the BetStamp shot because the WNBA props are very thin. The game 2 props are very thin as well. We did a deep dive on them, but the long shots are not ones that we loved pre-show. Ryan Howard over 3.5 threes in this game plus 170 was a look in the WNBA for the Atlanta Dream. And of course, all of those odds, all of those numbers, all of those market moves as it relates to props or mains. Anytime you see me look to the left over here, I'm listening to Drew, but I'm looking at the BetStamp Pro odds screen, seeing the line moves, tracking all that stuff, having it scrub the market for plus EV plays and sorting it by their edge. It is the best odds screen I have ever used. Go check out betstamp.com. You could use their tracking resources. You could check out their Pro odds screen and sign up for a demo with it. Or you can come back, join us on Monday as we will be back breaking down odds for game 3 as well as the WNBA. Some words from Patrick Beverly as he says, y'all subscribe to my podcast while you're asking me all these questions.
And listen to your parents.
Y'all subscribe to my podcast while y'all asking all these questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the pod. And if you're a kid, listen to your parents. Listen to your parents.
Listen to your parents.
Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod. Subscribe to the pod, man. Good. Those are good.